everyone, a very warm welcome along to Sportsbet TV's Racing Selections, and back with you once again. Paul Alster here, looking forward, fingers crossed, to some really good racing this coming weekend. Of course, the weather could well take a hand, and we're hoping that the big meetings do manage to survive the elements. I'll be coming to that in a few minutes' time. And I've selected 4 horses for you. And we're very much hoping that we're going to continue what has been a quite remarkable run. And of course the latest success was last weekend, where we selected 4 horses. 2 didn't run because the meeting was abandoned. One of them, Sebastopol, well, I thought he'd stay the 2.5 miles at Musselburgh, but clearly he didn't on that evidence. Although, to be honest, I was never particularly happy with the way he was going. I didn't think he was travelling particularly well, and it wouldn't surprise me if it comes to light that he was a bit under the weather. So I still hold out hopes that Sebastopol could well win a nice race this year. Something like the County Hurdle or Imperial Cup, I would have thought, might be the right type of race for him back at 2 miles. But of course, the big news was another big winner, following on from a series of big price winners that I hope many of you managed to get on. And just to remind you, and before I forget, if you want to follow all my bulletins, remember to press the red subscribe button and of course the bell icon as well, so you'll be informed every time a new bulletin is released. And remember to share this bulletin as well and future bulletins with your friends and spread the word. Well, last Saturday the horse that I focused on was See You at Midnight, trained by Sandy Thompson and ridden by Ryan Menier. The team had done us a great favour a few weeks earlier at Newcastle with a very big price winner, and once again they did it for us, and I explained why I thought the horse would run well. They targeted the race. He'd run a lot better than his form figure of pulled up suggested at Haydock last time. He was still fairly handicapped. He had his conditions, and they made that epic journey from Kelso to Sandown really pay. Now, if I'm sure as many of you were like me watching the race, you'll have seen that as soon as he jumped out in front, there was a feeling that they really did mean business. But as they came to the pond fence 3 out, I thought with so many queuing up in behind him, maybe he's not going to be able to hold on. But he produced a spring-heeled leap at the second last, and that was when I thought they're really going to have to go some to pass him. And he just kept going, got over the last and held them at bay on the run-in. He returned at 10-1, but we were on at 20s. And I hope you managed to join in what was a terrific winner to start off the new year. Well, I'm always trying to find you decent price winners. I'm not in the business, as regular followers will know, of putting up short price favourites. And I'm looking for each way value, because I take the view that most punters aren't sticking big amounts on, and so you're going to be looking for something to give you a shout at the very least at proper odds. So 4 selections for you this week. Now the first one is recapping a selection for last week which didn't run, of course, because the Welsh National didn't take place. Now at the time of this recording on Friday lunchtime, there are some hopeful noises from Chepstow that the racing will go ahead there, and I really hope it does, because the Welsh National is really a great race. And the horse that I selected for you those few weeks ago is still in the lineup, so I can't desert him, and that is the 12-year-old Joe Farrell, who is trained by Rebecca Curtis, and it's going to be the mount of James Best. Now, James Best is having his very first ride for Rebecca Curtis, so he'll want to do his very best, I'm sure, to impress the trainer. Now, he is a really good jockey. Of course, he's won the Beecher Chase a couple of times on Walk in the Mill for Robert Walford, and of course he won the Racing Post Chase on Pilgrim's Bay, I think it was, at 25-1. So he's a jockey that is quite capable on the big occasion, and he's going to ride for Rebecca Curtis, who, as well as Joe Farrell, has had big winners. Of course, Lisnagar Oscar won last season's Stayers Hurdle. O'Phelan's Boy, you'll remember of hers, won the RSA Chase. At Fisher's Cross, he was high class, won the Albert Bartlett at Cheltenham. And T for 3, of course, was a terrific staying handicap chaser as well. But Joe Farrell Well, he's the one I think is very good value. A lot of people will overlook this horse because he's old, and they may view him, as they probably viewed See You at Midnight and York Hill, others that have won for us recently, as being lights of former days. But Joe Farrell, the winner of the 2018 Scottish National over 4 miles on good ground, showed in the Midlands National in March of last year that he's still no back number, and he also showed that he can run big races on heavy ground. He finished third there behind Trucker's Lodge, who reopposes once again, and he was bang there jumping for fun most of the way, just got outpaced going to the second last, but stayed on again and very nearly nabbed second place. Now he finished 19 lengths behind Trucker's Lodge, who's in the race again on Saturday, all being well. But for me, the significant factor, and the factor that I think a lot of odds compilers have overlooked, is that Joe Farrell is now £22 better off for those 19 lengths, and I think the 3 3/4 miles will suit him better than the 4 1/4 miles of the Midlands National, which was in absolutely desperate ground. So Joe Farrell, who ran at Aintree last time out, and he's not really an Aintree horse, and he showed it once again. I think he's going to run a very big race. I think he still has that fire in his belly, and at odds of 40 to 1 and each way for 5 places on offer with the following firms at the time of this recording, and it wouldn't surprise me if a few go bigger, so remember to bet with a bookmaker who is going to offer you the SP if it's bigger than the price you take. But at the time of this recording we have William Hill, Bet Victor, Unibet, Betfred, Betway and Boyle Sports all offering 40 to 1 for 5 places each way. Joe Farrell on Saturday at Chepstow in the 3:10, the Welsh National, and I really do hope the race is run. There are plenty of dangers in there, by the way. From a point of view of a story, and a story that will touch at the heartstrings, Christmas and April will be a wonderful winner because of Colin Tizard trains it, and of course the race is run in memory this year of his daughter Kim Jin-jel, who died far too young last year, and it would be a real tear-jerker if Christmas in April were to run a very big race. And Evan Williams is very strong in the race, with both Secret Reprieve and Prime Venture, I think, set to run well. But well with Joe Farrell, who I think can give us a terrific run for our money. Now then, our 3 other selections. The one track that I think is not really in danger on Saturday is Kempton. And there's a great race at Kempton at 3:30, which is the 2 mile 5 furlong Lanzarote handicap hurdle. It's a great race named after a great horse of the 1970s, and there are 20 runners in a very competitive renewal of this race. Now at the time of this recording they're betting around 6 to 1 the field, so as ever it's a very open race. Now the likes of Every Law for Philip Hobbs and Richard Johnson, One True King for Nigel and Sam Twiston Davis, Master Whiskey for Harry Fry, Huntsman's Call for Ollie Murphy. They're all horses that could run well. But there's some interesting stats in this race, and that 4 times in the last 7 years the winner has carried more than 11 stone 4 upwards, which is unusual in such a hot handicap. And those 4 winners, 2 of them were trained by Nicky Henderson and 2 were trained by Paul Nicholls. Now Nicky Henderson runs a horse called the Cashel Man. He's off 11 stone 9, but he hasn't really showed any spark so far this term, and even though he's coming down the handicap, I'm not convinced by Nicky Henderson's runners. So that leaves us with 2 of Paul Nicholls' runners. He's got Armand de Nuit, I think it's called, and Solo. Those are the 2 runners. Arnold Dudouis, he's got 11 stone 10, but they booked Kevin Brogan, who's an up-and-coming conditional jockey in great form. He's claiming £7. But for me, the horse that I really like is Solo. Solo has 11 stone 12, and stable jockey Harry Cobden is on board. Now Solo has the top weight, but he's a horse who I think he's going to stay. He's stepping up in trip, and I think it's going to suit. Now, 11 months ago, he absolutely bolted up at this track over 2 miles in the Adonis Hurdle at Grade 2. He won there by 13 lengths, And after that, he was just a 4-to-1 shot for the Triumph Hurdle, but very clearly he didn't act on the undulating track at Cheltenham, and he didn't run his race. Now, so far this season, he's run 4th to So Royal in the Grade 2 Elite Hurdle at Wincanton, and then he got stuck in the mud last time out at Sandown. He travelled well for much of the race, but once he was let down in very, very heavy ground, he couldn't pick up, and I'd excuse him for that. I think this horse is still a very, very talented performer, and on the better ground, I think he's got every chance of staying the longer trip. And with Paul Nicholls' record, I think that he's going to run a massive race. Now, at the time of this recording, 16-to-1 is available with a number of firms, but the only one betting 5 places each way is Bet Victor. So I think the 16-to-1 with Bet Victor for solo is worth an interest. I think he's going to run a massive race in those famous blue and pink colours of Mrs. Johnny de la Haye. Amour de Nuit, Paul Nicholls' other runner, I really do respect it because it's a horse that didn't take to fences the other season. It's come back after a long absence and run a couple of very good races, so I do fear it, but I just have the edge for solo at 16-to-1 in that 3:30 race at Kempton on Saturday, the Lanzarote Handicap Hurdle. Now, there are 2 others for you. I'm going to start off at 1:45 at Kempton, and this is a 3-mile handicap chase, 15 run. They're betting 6-to-1 the field, and there are plenty of horses you can make out a case for in this 1:45 at Kempton. Commodore for Venetia Williams, I think, will run well. Rocco, 2 for Gold, they all have solid claims. But the horse I really like here, and if the ground was somehow to ease, I know we're not likely to get rain, but if it were to cut up and open up and ease, then Kustar Sivola, I think, is a very, very interesting runner. He's trained by Nick Williams, of course has trained some very good horses, and I do like the booking of Richard Johnson. And this horse, you may remember him, of course, back in 2018, going on for nearly 3 years ago at the 2018 Cheltenham Festival, he came flying up the hill under Lizzie Kelly, and he won the Ultima Handicap Chase off 142. That was a terrific performance. He went up to 150 after that and faced a number of stiff tasks. He then was pulled up in the 2019 Ultima Handicap Chase when trying to defend his crown. And clearly something went amiss that day because he was off for 20 months. So he's had a few problems. Now, I was very interested to see his return to action at Bangor in November, and I thought he ran a really good race, shaping well, although he looked a little bit burly, and then getting tired from the third last, finishing 5th eventually at Bangor. And then they ran him in the Beecher Chase. They ran him at Aintree over the big fences in the Beecher Chase. He was right up there, disputing the lead at the chair when he just stood off too far and he came down on the fence and he gave his jockey absolutely no chance. But clearly they feel the horse is back to full fitness, running him at Aintree over the big fences in the Beecher Chase, and after that very promising reappearance at Bangor. Now he's down to a mark of 137. That is £5 lower than his Cheltenham Festival win. And Richard Johnson has a 2 from 14 strike rate when riding for Nick Williams and a level stakes profit of £23.50, which means he's ridden him some nice price winners, and 8-to-1 available each way for Kustar Sivola for 4 places, even though there are only 15 runners, and that is with Paddy Power and Betfair. And as I say, if the ground eases from the current description of good to soft, it can only enhance the chance of Kustar Sivola, who loves to get his toe in. Soft or even heavy ground is ideal for him. Good to soft, soft in places, I think we could get away with that. So that is Kustar Sivola, each way 8-to-1 for 4 places in the 1:45 at Kempton, the 3-mile handicap chase. And then my last selection for you for this particular bulletin, and it's for Saturday at Wincanton, and I hope Wincanton goes ahead. I know they're fairly hopeful. Now, their first race at 12:25 is a maiden hurdle over the very sort of shortened trip of 1 mile 7 furlongs and 65 yards. There are 18 runners and all the big yards are represented. Paul Nicholls, Alan King's got a very interesting runner who's the highest rated horse on official figures at 127. Philip Hobbs, Nigel Twiston Davis, Nick Skelton, or rather the boys, the Skelton brothers, thinking of the show jumper for a moment there, showing my age, but the Skelton brothers, Dan and Harry, they have a runner as well. That's interesting. But I'm going back to a horse that I tipped you the other week that was a non-runner. And he's going to be a big price again if he runs. Of course, the WIDDOW Maker, trained by Colin Tizard. And interestingly, John Joe O'Neill Jr. is on board, who's got a really good 17% strike rate when he rides for Colin Tizard. Now, as I say, he was due to run last week. I think it was down at Exeter, and they abandoned the meeting. And I fancied him there. He's had a couple of runs only, this horse. In December of 2019, so 13 months ago, he made his debut in an Exeter bumper and finished 9th of 16. Nothing special, okay, satisfactory first run. He was then off the course for a year and reappeared last month at Exeter, making his debut over hurdles in a 2-mile, 1 furlong novice hurdle, and he was ridden by a £7 conditional jockey called Harry Kimber. Now, poor old Harry Kimber knew something was wrong early on because the saddle started to slip forward, and it kept slipping forward, but he was still bang there as they turned in and jumped the third last. But as he jumped the third last, his saddle started tilting sideways, and 9 times out of 10 the jockeys are going to go out the side door. But somehow young Kimber managed to stay on, and he was wrestling with the balance and trying to move his weight in the saddle, and that was going on over the third and second last. By the time they got to the last, the winner had got away. He dropped right back through the field, but he managed to complete in 7th place of the 15 runners, and to my eyes the horse was no spent force when he crossed the line. It's my view that if he had had the saddle in place, the horse would probably have finished in the first 3, and he might have just made a race of it with the winner. So what I'm saying essentially is this horse is far better than the bare form figure suggests. And I think it's really interesting that they're turning him out, trying to get him in that third run. Some people might say, yeah, they're getting him the third run so he'll get a handicap mark. But against horses, including that rated 127, if he goes close, he's going to blow the handicap mark anyway. So I think they mean business. And the WIDDOW Maker running in the 12.25 race at Wincanton. No odds on offer because it's not one of the major handicap events. But the forecasts are suggesting 25 to 1. I think that's a little bit optimistic. If we can get 20 to 1 each way about the WIDDOW Maker in the 12.25, it would not surprise me at all to see him run a very big race indeed. And I don't think that slight drop back in trip from 2 miles 1 furlong to the extended 1 and 7 will be against him, because he seems to be quite a free-going sort, and I think it might help him, this drop back in trip. So the WIDDOW Maker for Colin Tizard and John Joe O'Neill Jr. is the 4th and last of my 4 selections. I hope they're going to run well. I hope the racing goes ahead. We're at that time of year when there's going to be lots of cancellations. There isn't a whole lot of great racing between now and of course the Cheltenham Festival, but there are some selected big races which we'll be focusing on. And also from next week, I'm going to start to give you 1 or 2 horses to maybe have a look at anti-post for the Cheltenham Festival as we build up to what will be something superb, regardless of whether or not the public will be in attendance, which I think must be very doubtful. So that's it for this weekend's bulletin. Fingers crossed for a bold show from all our 4 runners. I wish you well, stay safe and stay warm, and I'll be back next week. From Sportsbet TV and from me, Paul Alster, bye-bye for now.